Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Right now, we are experiencing an intense time on Earth. It is June 13. Um, Politically, there is the Iran-Israel conflict. And there hasn't been a ceasefire commanded by all the other nations. So it is a tense time, and many human beings don't know what the result of this occurrence could be. I feel really powerless as a member of the human species in this situation. I'm living in Toronto, Canada, but I feel powerless in the sense that there isn't how do I say it? It is the future of the species is way more important than the egos of the nations now. And then I thought, what would the kings, if all the great kings or conquerors in history, if they would come back, what would they say to the leaders of Iran and the leaders of Israel? And a part of me was like, it's important to share this. So I asked AI for the research, and it has prepared some answer, and I will read it for you because the answer is fascinating. And I hope that the humans on this earth understand that sometimes when we fight, we break the opportunities that could have rebuilt things. It's like there's a greatness upcoming. It's as if we shouldn't, how do I say it? There will be a you who will wake up tomorrow, and feel like a new you. There's always a new day. There needs to be the patience and the ability. Uh, how do I say it? Sometimes in life, I found that when I'm patient, I get to see more of life before making a decision, more angles before I make a decision. Anyways, I shall read this. So, AI has titled it Global King's Peace Speech. Another title, Let the Kings Speak, a message to Iran, Israel, and humanity. And I've asked it to give an explanation of the leader and in some sense what the leader would say to Iran and Israel. So right now, and humanity. It's pretty much, I'm trying to, for the mere chance, for the random chance that some of the ideas I share here can get across to, like, I don't know, world leaders somehow, I'm doing this. So the answers I'm going to read for you that AI has come up with, it's giving an explanation, and then it's going to say what that leader, if it was here now, would say to Iran and Israel. I think this is important. I want anybody who hears in species to just feel like if the kings of old came back, how would they respond to the situation in regards to what would they say to the world leaders of Iran and Israel. So today I do not speak only to Iran and Israel. I speak to all nations through the voices of your greatest kings and emperors. Listen to what your ancestors, the builders of your nations, would say if they could speak to you now. They do not call for war, they call for peace, for wisdom, for the advancement of our species. So we go to one of the oldest leaders in history, Ashoka the Great, India. Um, Ashoka, third emperor of the Maurya dynasty, ruled nearly the whole Indian subcontinent. So who's Ashoka the Great from India? After the devastating Kalinga War 261 BCE, in which over 100,000 people were killed, he renounced conquest and became a follower of Buddhism. He spread the ideals of nonviolence, religious tolerance, and ethical governance. Ashoka's moral edicts were engraved in stone and spread across his empire, emphasizing compassion, justice, and care for all living beings. His rule is one of the earliest historical examples of a leader who consciously chose peace over imperial glory, and who believed civilization must be guided by Dharma, moral truth. So if Ashoka the Great was here right now, somehow, he would look in. I'm going to read for you what it would say to the leaders of Iran and Israel. So I want you to imagine this is Ashoka the Great saying it, AI generated. Iran, Israel, I once ruled through war, but when I saw what it did to the people, I changed. I carved my shame into stone so others would not repeat it. You now stand where I once stood, between vengeance and wisdom. Choose peace. Let your legacy be healing, not haunting. Then we go to the next great leader in history, Cyrus the Great. So we had Ashoka the Great, India. Now we're Cyrus the Great, Persia, Iran. Cyrus II, founder of the it's strange, as a Persian guy, I can't pronounce this. Cyrus II, founder of the Achaemenid Empire. Achaemenid, Jesus Christ, I don't know how to say this. Cyrus II, founder of the Achaemenid Empire, created the first multi-ethnic, multi-faith empire in human history. Guys, Persians, their ancestors were, how can I say it, for their time they were peaceful. His conquest of Babylon in 539, I mean, nobody was peaceful back then, but anyways, his conquest of Babylon in 539 BCE was peaceful, and he immediately issued the Cyrus Cylinder, widely regarded as the first declaration of human rights, which granted freedom of religion and repatriated displaced peoples, including the Jews. Revered in Jewish, Greek, and Persian traditions, Cyrus is remembered not only as a conqueror, but as a liberator who governed through respect and law rather than fear. What he would say, if Cyrus the Great was here, he would say, Iran, I am your root. Israel, I gave your ancestors refuge. I was a king who freed, not chained. You both come from dignity. Do not desecrate your origin with endless violence. Stand together now and write a new covenant, one of respect, as what I once did. That's what Cyrus the Great would say. Then we go to Israel, King Solomon. Solomon, son of David, and ruler of the United Kingdom of Israel in the 10th century BCE, is remembered in both religious scripture and historical legend as a ruler of unparalleled wisdom and diplomatic prowess. Also, guys, King Solomon in Islam is acknowledged as a prophet, peace be upon him. His reign marked the peak of ancient Israel's influence and peace. He constructed the first temple in Jerusalem, a sacred center for monotheism, and secured alliances through marriages and treaties, creating regional stability. The biblical story of his judgment between two mothers over a child became a universal symbol of wise leadership. King Solomon's legacy is less about warfare and more about the civilizing force of wisdom, architecture, poetry, and judicial discernment. If King Solomon was here, he would say, and guys, I shouldn't be reading AI generated things that a prophet would say. Excuse me. I feel I shouldn't read this, but at the same time I feel I should. I don't know what to do. Rabbi Gfirli, my Lord, forgive me. I don't mean this in any respect, any disrespect, in any sort of negative rudeness. I'm just sharing what the man's technology, which man is your creation, has generated. This is just AI generated. I'm reading. So King Solomon would say, Israel, wisdom was our crown, not war. I built a temple, not a fortress, and I judged not by who was louder, by what was right. Iran, Israel, what will your judgment be in the eyes of time? Be builders of harmony, be heirs to something greater than revenge. Then we go to Spain. Queen Isabella I. Isabella I of Castile, 1451 to 1504, unified Spain through her marriage to Ferdinand of Aragon and led the Reconquista, reclaiming Iberian lands from centuries of Islamic rule. She centralized the Spanish crown and funded Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492, marking the beginning of Spain's rise as a global empire. Though controversial for her role in the Inquisition, she also founded universities, reformed administration, and oversaw the early modern emergence of Spain as a complex and transformational, became the foundation of Spain's imperial identity. If Queen Isabella I was here right now, she would say to Iran and Israel, I saw the birth of empires and their burden. Iran, Israel, true empire is not expansion of land, but expansion of spirit. Rule yourselves with conscience. Lead with justice, not zealotry. For even great crowns fall when peace is forgotten. What a sentence. Then we go to Emperor Pedro II, Brazil. Pedro II, 1825 to 1891, the second and final emperor of Brazil, ruled for nearly 50 years and guided Brazil through a period of modernization, industrialization, and abolition. A deeply educated monarch fluent in over 10 languages, he promoted science, the arts, and education. Guys, this is relatively modern. I'm sure Brazil has that. Anyways, he promoted science, the arts, and education. He oversaw the end of slavery in Brazil and respected constitutional limits on his power, earning wide public admiration. Pedro II is remembered for his modesty, intellect, and moral leadership, rare among 19th century monarchs. If Emperor Pedro II from Brazil was here right now, what would he say to Iran and Israel? I ruled not through force, but through intellect. I ended slavery not with a sword, but with a pen. Iran, Israel, wisdom builds nations. Rage dissolves them. The world needs you not as enemies, but as examples. Then we go to the Aztec Empire. Okay, there should have been more. I don't know what. Moctezuma II, Aztec Empire, Mexico. Moctezuma II, 1466 to 1520, was the last fully sovereign ruler of the Aztec Empire before the Spanish conquest. He presided over a highly structured, spiritual, and militarized society centered in Tenochtitlan, now Mexico City. Though his legacy is marked by tragic misjudgment in the face of Spanish arrival, he maintained a thriving urban civilization and ruled through ritual authority and deep cultural symbolism. His reign reminds us how civilizations can rise in brilliance and fall to external division and internal uncertainty. If Moctezuma II was here right now from the Aztec Empire in Mexico, modern Mexico, which is now modern Mexico, he would say, I welcomed strangers with honor and paid the price in blood. Iran, Israel, do not let history repeat its blindness. Protect your temples not with walls of fear, but with bridges of courage. Let peace be your new sun. I mean, guys, the Aztecs were kind of crazy, but we gotta honor advancement. This is my view. All right, guys, there's more. I'm going to read it. The timeline might be different, but I'm just going to read it. We have Emperor Taizong from China. Taizong of Tang was the second emperor of the Tang dynasty, ruling from 626 to 649 CE. He was a brilliant general, but became an even greater ruler, promoting meritocracy, listening to criticism, and investing in legal reform. He unified China after civil war and laid the foundation for a golden age of culture, science, and diplomacy. He opened China to foreign cultures, allowing Buddhist, Islamic, and Christian envoys into his court. His leadership became a Confucian model, the ruler as a moral guide, not just a military figure. If Emperor Taizong from China was here right now, what would he say to Iran and Israel? I built a vast empire, not by silencing dissent, but by learning from it. Iran, Israel, if your people cannot question you, then you are not kings. Rule yourselves first. Let peace be your first conquest. Then we go to this Suleiman is spelled differently. That was Solomon. This is Suleiman. Suleiman the Magnificent, Ottoman Empire, Turkey. Suleiman I reigned from 1520 to 1566 and brought the Ottoman Empire to its cultural and administrative peak. Known as Kanuni, in quotations, the lawgiver, he harmonized Islamic and secular law, protected minority rights, and supported vast architectural and artistic development. He ruled over a multi-faith empire where Jews, Christians, and Muslims lived under one imperial code. His reign combined military power with an enduring commitment to justice and aesthetic beauty, proving that governance was an art of balance. Suleiman the Magnificent from the Ottoman Empire, if what we would say to Iran, leaders of Iran and Israel right now. My courts judged Jew, Christian, and Muslim as equals. My empire stretched far, not because we destroyed, but because we included. Iran and Israel, you both know law, scripture, and civilization. Use them. Write your next chapter in ink, not ash. Emperor Meiji, Japan. Emperor Meiji oversaw Japan's transformation during the Meiji Restoration, 1867 to 1912. He ended centuries of isolation and feudal rule, modernized Japan's economy and education system, introduced the constitution, and adopted global scientific and military advances. Yet, Meiji maintained Japan's cultural identity while expanding its global role. His reign is a rare example of a non-Western country modernizing from within, avoiding colonization through strategic adaptation and openness. What Emperor Meiji of Japan would say to Iran and Israel. I ended the age of swords so that my people could rise. I looked abroad to build my country up, not to tear others down. Iran, Israel, if you do not evolve, you will break. Advance your peace like you would advance your power. Then we have Ramses II of Egypt. Ramses the Great ruled Egypt for 66 years during its new kingdom, 1279 to 1213 BCE. He is famous for monumental structures like Abu Simbel, but also for co-signing the earliest surviving peace treaty in human history, the Treaty of Kadesh with the Hittites. This agreement ended a long-standing conflict and declared mutual protection and alliance. Ramses proved that even great warriors could build peace when the cost of war became too high. If Ramses the Great was Ramses II the Great was here, what would Ramses say to Iran and Israel? I fought long, but I knew when to stop. I signed peace with my enemies and carved the truth into stone for eternity. Iran, Israel, make peace while you still can. The stones you lay now will speak forever. Then we have Peter the Great from Russia. Peter I ruled from 1682 to 1725 and revolutionized Russia. He traveled through Europe in disguise, studied shipbuilding, and returned to reform the Russian military, government, and society. He introduced secular schools, modern taxation, and founded St. Petersburg, his in quotations window to the West. He believed knowledge and engineering were keys to empire, not just brute force. He reshaped Russian identity through education and vision. What Peter would say to Iran, what Peter the Great would say from Russia would say to the leaders of Iran and Israel. I did not fear change, I commanded it. I built cities from swamps, I learned from strangers. Israel, Iran, you rule ancient lands, but the future is unbuilt. Lead boldly and lead forward. We have King Sejong the Great, Korea. King Sejong from 1418 to 1450 is best remembered for inventing Hangul, the Korean alphabet, so that even farmers and servants could read and write. His reign expanded scientific knowledge, legal reform, and public infrastructure. He believed that literacy and fairness were more powerful than privilege, and that a ruler's duty was to elevate all people, not just the elites. If King Sejong the Great from Korea was here, what would he say to the leaders of Iran and Israel? I gave my people the tools to speak their truth. I govern not by command, but by compassion. Iran, Israel, you people are intelligent, proud, and waiting. Your people are intelligent, proud, and waiting. Give them peace they can speak of with pride. Then we have England, King Alfred the Great, from England. Alfred, 1871 to 1899, is remembered as the only English king to earn the title Great. He fought off Viking invasions while also translating classical works, establishing schools, and laying the foundations of English common law. He taught that kings must protect both the body and mind of their people through justice, education, and humility. If King Alfred the Great was here, what would he say to the leaders of Iran and Israel? Even as the Vikings burned my land, I opened schools. I knew that war was only half the task. The other half was building something worth protecting. Israel, Iran, what are you protecting if not peace? King Charlemagne, the Holy Roman Empire, crowned emperor in 800 CE, Charlemagne united much of Western Europe and sparked a revival in education, church reform, and classical knowledge. He built monasteries, standardized writing, and promoted Latin literacy, foundations that shaped European identity. His reign is viewed as a bridge between ancient Rome and modern Europe. If King Charlemagne the Holy Roman Empire, as it's written here, was here, what would he say to the leaders of Iran and Israel? I forged unity out of chaos, not just with steel, but with scripture and school. Iran, Israel, if war is your answer, you're asking the wrong question. Unite minds, shape culture. That is empire. That means to be an emperor. That's what it is. So guys, there's a few more I'm going to read. We have George Washington, United States of America. George Washington, 1732 to 1799, was the commander of the Continental Army during the American Revolution and became the first president of the United States. He led the colonies to independence, then voluntarily relinquished power after 2 terms, establishing the precedent that leadership must serve democracy, not personal ambition. In his farewell address, 1796, he warned against permanent alliances and excessive partisanship, emphasizing unity, restraint, and peace. George Washington is revered as the father of his country and a model of Republican leadership that balances strength with humility. So AI says if George Washington of the USA was here right now, he would say he would say to the leaders of Iran and Israel, I could have become king, but I chose to step down. That is real power. Iran, Israel, do not fight for thrones of pride. Earn the love of your people by ending their fear. A true leader fights not for the glory, but for stability. What a sentence. Earn the love of your people by ending their fear. A true leader fights not for glory, but for stability. Then we go to Ottoman von Bismarck of Germany. That's just how it writes it. I guess he's German Empire, so he's an emperor. Bismarck, Otto von Bismarck, 1815 to 1898, unified the German states through a mix of diplomacy, war, and political genius. As chancellor, he engineered the formation of the German Empire in 1871. But after unification, he focused not on conquest, but on preserving peace through careful alliances and a balance of power. He also introduced Germany's first social welfare systems, including health insurance and pensions, making the state responsible for citizen well-being. Otto von Bismarck is remembered as both a shrewd strategist and a realist who understood that power must be used to protect, not provoke. That means, guys, leaders who use power to provoke rather than protect, they are false leaders. They're in some sense like false emperors. They're false kings. They're just wearing a crown. Then we have King Abdul Aziz ibn Saud. King Abdul Aziz ibn Saud of Saudi Arabia. King Abdul Aziz Al Saud, 1875 to 1953, unified the Arabian Peninsula and founded the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932. Through a blend of military campaigns and tribal diplomacy, he brought stability to a fragmented region, but his true legacy lies in building a state governed by Islamic values while managing relations with global powers. He emphasized order, loyalty, and gradual modernization. Revered as the founder of modern Saudi Arabia, his leadership balanced tradition and statecraft in a volatile geopolitical landscape. If King Abdul Aziz Ibn Saud was here, he would say, I brought warring tribes together, not just what he would say to the leaders of Iran and Israel. He would say, I brought warring tribes together not just with might, but with mission. I knew that unity required wisdom, not just swords. Iran, Israel, you both believe you're guardians of something sacred. Then act like guardians, guard life, guard your future. So, dear viewers, I felt this was important to just give the viewers, give human beings a context that all nations, all the leaders of nations right now, you're all a classroom. It's like a classroom of kids, right? But the issue is like two of the kids in the classroom have grenades, right? And the whole classroom can become devastated. And it's that point where all the nations on the planet, all the leaders of nations like eagles, or like generals of armies, they need to just look at for a second what's happening on one part of the battlefield. And they need to realize that in the same way kids in a classroom would all jump with like lightning speed, like a cobra, like imagine how a cobra jumps with the same amount of speed. All the friends of the two classmates, everybody in the classroom pretty much is going to just hold those two still. Right now we're at that point in, I guess, the political history of mankind where the nations, that war is happening again. When war is happening, it's as if a new consciousness, it's like after World War II, it's like there was a kind of resting period, right? And now it's like starting from Russia, Ukraine, and then uh, Israel, Palestine, and now Israel, Iran. Do you know? And what is this? Are we seeing like some chain reaction here? Do you know what I mean? Are we seeing like it's okay now to kill millions of people in nations? Like a couple years ago, do you know what I mean? Nobody, like everybody was so relaxed. Do you know? And when I say everybody's relaxed, not that there wasn't war. Like the planet was a savage place. Civility is our opportunity. It's just I'm trying to say that the human species is too rare to mess up. Like we can't mess this up as human beings. Doesn't matter what. Doesn't matter. Just like people kind of care for their neighbors, they care for like their relatives, family members. Is it really that difficult to care for your species? I mean, like, so many people disagree with each other, yet they can still coexist. You see, now war is another way of saying we can't coexist when we disagree. Who says? There's so many ways to look at reality. You see, folks, I'm concerned. And for me, in no way, shape, or form was I born as a king. Have I ever experienced anything close to that? But I know something. I know that the human consciousness, after it is responsible for itself, has nowhere else to be responsible for aside from the rest of the territory. So it's as if you're responsible for yourself, then the next game is you're responsible for your species. It's unavoidable. All the great kings, I think, understood this. They were like, yo, man, I can imagine like the multiplicity of a pattern of behavior in human beings. There's been so many kings in history. It's fascinating. Do you know? And they were tasked with responsibility of the values of their nation. And what you see in history, actually, the further you go back, it was as if the kingdom was held by the personality of the leader. Okay, the king would have to give a speech. The king would have to go win wars. Do you know what I mean? The king would have to gain the respect of all those people. He had to, in some sense, show that he held a might that made him worthy for the future, for the challenges of the future of its nation, you know, of its kingdom. You see, it's all about values. I gave a talk on this called The Alphabet of Human Values. And what the point of it was I was saying, look at how 26 letters have led 26 letters of the English alphabet have led to 600,000 words. Now, for a second, my mind saw parallels to this and used it as a metaphor. And I was like, there's 8 billion human beings. Let's say there's 8 billion words. And imagine instead of letters, it's values. So in some sense, there's 8 billion humans. There's 600,000 words made out of 26 letters. And there is 8 billion humans. And what is each human? What sort of letters of the alphabet of human values are they made of? So ultimately, it's about understanding, and in regards to conceptualization and contextualization. That means if somebody was like, Mr. Within, you got like a couple minutes to organize civilization, I would in some sense compartmentalize all knowledge to be divided between known studies and unknown studies. And the whole point of life is to realize you're limited. It is the advancement of the human species. We're reaching that point in history, okay, at least this point in 2025. Like I'm not in the year 2125, 2225. I'm in the year 2025, where history is witnessing the awakening, the transformation, the turning point for human consciousness that identifies with it has a nationalistic and personalized story identity, and beginning to realize now, yes, even though you and your ancestors were conditioned to identify as empires or nations or whatever, we've reached that level of awareness and maturity as a species to be like, who we kidding? We all look the same in the mirror. We have the same skeletal structure, similar design. If you looked at a bunch of human beings, you wouldn't be like, yo man, they're all like the same. They're not, we're not clones of each other, but it's obvious we have common denominator design features. Common design. So if you look in the mirror and you see a human being there, you're seeing a member of the human species. Now, is this member of the human species acknowledging that it is part of a species? And when I said life is about value systems and every human being is like, their personality is like a word, and what letters, what values has that ego emerged from or through? We have reached that time in human history, and surprisingly, sometimes what you think is a mistake ends up being like a hidden tactic for something coming in the future. Right now, imagine from World War II to like when Russia and Ukraine fought. I believe in that time frame, around a majority of children, human beings born on this earth, treated war as if it's in the history books. That means there has been a massive shift in the acknowledgement of what it means to be human. That means the internet, cyberspace, has already started developing the global culture. What do you think is happening now? I'm a human being. If there wasn't my phone and this internet here, it would be as if like my thoughts and ideas and everything would just be local. Now, just like an eagle flies off from a branch into the sky and sees the whole forest, this is what cyberspace is allowed. And in the same sense that we're learning from each other, you don't understand how fascinating it is. When species unification day happens, or United Species Day happens, it will be a moment where cultures will learn from cultures. We will understand all wars were civil wars, and resource allocation shifts. So right now it's hilarious. Imagine, I'll give you an example. Imagine the planet Earth is a brain. Just for a second, entertain me. Imagine planet Earth is a brain, and different parts of a brain have different functions. Similarly, different parts of the earth, one nation has that resource, another nation has that sort of intellectual capital. You see what I'm saying? You know, they have different resources, right? So right now the planet is behaving like a brain and like a fragmented psyche. Do you know what I mean? Or like a sort of mental issue. This brain is still fragmented. Do you know that means? Imagine like human beings trying to connect a natural brain, like, with different tech, different parts of a scattered brain somehow. It's hypothetical, right? It's like that's kind of, I mean, maybe that was too intense of a metaphor. What I'm trying to tell you, it's like a brain, and it's like different parts of the brain are not connected. So, for example, that person, who was it, the Rain Man guy? Do you know the guy who could do like next level math in his head? I forget the term. They were like savants, but also autistic, right? And they went and checked that dude's brain who could do genius next level math, right? And then they realized the center of his brain was like absent, and his brain had kind of adjusted itself to work like a donut. So there were parts of that dude's brain when it came to social functions that just didn't work. Do you know this? I mean, that was a rare case, I'm not talking about shyness or introversion. That's stuff something else. I'm talking about just like the dude's brain had to rewire itself, right? So I'm saying similar to how different parts of a brain are required, okay, for different functions, right? In the same way, nations are like the different departments of a brain, different parts of a brain that are not connected yet. They're fighting. Imagine like your left frontal lobe fighting with your right frontal lobe, for example, or your left hemisphere of the brain is rebelling against the right hemisphere. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's all in one function, okay? And they right now the species is kind of shy. Do you know, like how you see it? Like I don't know. I have memories of my youth where like I was shy, and they were trying to introduce me to another person who was shy. Do you know what I mean? Reality. Honestly, guys, it's not that we are kings, but humanity still has honor. World War III would be so unnecessary. So unnecessary. It's like right when humanity was about to get good and technology was about to shift things into the next level, human beings fight, like destroy each other. Why? And people are like resources, political agendas, da 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 da. And I'll be like, listen, there is nothing in this world right now as valuable as what we can experience in the future. The future has been in a position of saving mankind from itself. You see, as a human being, if the possibility for greatness in the future is not there, the motivation for life is going to be very strange. Do you know? And at the same time, I don't know, maybe in my science fiction I'll talk about how immortal beings will have wars, and they would just realize they're kind of like inhibitors. You don't get it. It's like when two nations go to war, it's like, it's not a good term. I wanted to say CUCKOLD, in the sense that every citizen of every nation, their leaders are fighting, and all we get to do is just fucking watch this disaster. See, in this lecture, the previous lecture I'd said it, but in this lecture I was like, yo, man, look at how many great human beings have elevated to great positions of power and have even gone further. How many kings in history have there been that they were like, yo, man, why are human beings dying for abstract values? Do you know? Like, this might be one of the most bizarre things, but one of the most important things to hear. One of the biggest murders in history could be fiction. It's abstract misvalue placement, right? Sometimes I wish, like, only how do I say it? I kind of can feel it. I feel that our species right now, it's going to graduate from nationalism to speciesism. It's going to graduate from people working, right, for like in a monetary system. Most likely, I mean, I've envisioned this post species unification day. As this poet long ago had said, before death takes away all that is given, give away all there is to give. It means you have been born in a system. You can serve this system. That is one of the privileges of being conscious. If you ask, you shouldn't just ask yourself, why am I conscious? You should ask, why are you being conscious as a human being? Why are you a human on earth right now? Why are we all witnessing history live? And how important are decisions becoming? Like right now, they have no way of doing this because of our technology. But if they could survey everybody on the planet, out of 8 billion human beings, majority of them would be like, yeah, the war is meaningless. It's only like the two nations that are fighting really want to fight. And actually nobody really wants to fight, but they're fighting. And it's out of fear. Do you know what I'm saying? That means we're at a level of political shenanigans where it's as if they can make excuses. That means imagine like Italy attacks France because it believes like the French in the future are gonna attack Italy. Do you know what I'm saying? There is this notion that you neutralize a threat, okay? Like, for example, in that movie Night Agent, right? The agent had to shoot the person with the gun in their hand. It was like protocol. I don't know. It's just a part of me knows that human beings know how smart and great this place can be, this earth. And to deny the future generations of an advanced civilization is a tragedy. It's their birthright. And what's the point of feeling successful in an unsuccessful world? The whole point is to update the context, right? So first you update as a concept the self in the world, and then you update the world that you're experiencing as a self. Right now, humans have no excuse not to have the right answers. If anything happens like devastating, like World War III, if anything like that happens, it's out of greed. We can't say it's out of ignorance anymore. Because the world knows better. Because there's too many peaceful human beings. There's so many people living for their futures. You know how many people have careers? Millions of people died in world wars. Many of those people were geniuses, artists, inventors. You don't understand what war is. War is the attack on the intellectual capabilities of a species. And so I wonder, imagine there were kings still in humanity, true kings. How would they, in some sense, treat it? It would be as if, like, I'm going up to all these kingdoms trying to fight with one another, and I'm being like, guys, AI can make decisions better than you. Okay? And the agenda of humanity is interstellar. We want to get to that point. We want to get to the point of sky cities. We want to get to the point of interstellar cities. We want to, in some sense, advance humanity, become multiplanetary. These are all dreams. These are all, we've been living for these as a species. We cannot ignore these because two nations on the planet, in some sense, believe the planet's not worth it because of their values. We need an immediate ceasefiring of this conflict, and like any conflict, by all the nations in the classroom. That means when the teacher is not in the classroom, the students need to break up the fight. I want you to wonder about what your most advanced self would do. And your most advanced self would care for the most advanced value. And the most advanced value is never one group of human beings wins and all the other groups lose. Can never be that. You see, I've caught on to this. You know, I had so many people come and talk about conspiracy and stuff, which I would ignore. Like, but it's honestly a point of humanity is one of the most unique intelligent movements in this universe. You are privileged to open your eyes in human history. And I feel it's because of a need. I do believe existence is being administered by a system admin beyond existence. But I also believe that human beings, there's 8 billion souls being tested, humans being tested in a simulated testing zone. I believe that we're inside a simulation. I believe that, yes, you know, from one angle, war is bad, tragic, but also every person dies, and even there will be entropy. There will not even systems of knowledge die, epistemic entropy, you know, actual entropy of the cosmos. Even in the Holy Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the end of days, Qiyamah. So we all know that we will end at some point. We'll get old and end. And we know that civilization and the world and the cosmos, it's like everything is simulated because everything has, to some degree, an expiration date. But one thing that has surpassed time, that means I want you to imagine evolution was not an attempt to just stand on two legs. Evolution was an attempt for a species to surpass its greatest existential obstacle, time. Human lifespan at some point was up to 25 years. People lived like that age and died. That was like being an old man. Now the age has increased. In the future, due to tech, it's going to increase. What is required now is the advancement of 8 billion or human organisms into a realization that we should identify as citizens of a planet as a species rather than citizens of a specific part of a planet only, that it allows specifics to fight each other. You know, it's like, imagine I cut a cake into pieces, and then the moment I cut them and cut the cake in pieces, all the pieces of the cake start eating each other. Like, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous, right? So on some level, it's like, you know, even though there is, I find it hilarious. Usually, Sun Tzu, Art of the War, they say the general usually in war has to go and war because the other side's coming to kill you, and you know, it's a life or death situation, right? They were like deception. Okay, you need to use deception and divide and conquer. Okay. Now, I find it funny because generals back in the day had to implement that kind of method and perception. Nowadays, it's the exact opposite. We are divide and conquered, and this division this division may cause our extinction, external outer realm extinction. Now, in regards to even if our bodies go extinct, does that mean humanity is gone? Does that mean the essence of the intelligence is gone? I wouldn't say so, because we're not just physical beings. Your thoughts are not physical, yet they're present. I do believe there's subtler states of being, but I also believe that it's like all the smart people on the planet, it just needs one stupid person to destroy all of it. So part of being a truly smart species is to, in some sense, protecting our species. Let me tell you guys, this is a new archetype. You're going to feel as a human being that your whole life you've identified with your story, you know, some narrative. And now this podcaster has come on June 13, 2025, telling the species, your narrative was the caterpillar's life, your personal narrative. To be an advanced human or a neo-modern human, you require to identify as a member of the species. To the degree that in the future there needs to be What is Species Unification Day? United Species Day? That is the day where all the world leaders come to pledge a vow and to, in some sense, update their nations as part of one nation. I gave a talk on this. Go hear the talk before this, exactly. Before this lecture. But anyways, I don't know. When I was younger, it was chaotic rage. Not rage, wrath. Personally, that means my approach was I was so immature and insecure that it was just felt intense, show intensity kind of mindset. But now it is different. Now we have ushered ourselves in such a civilized era that we can't have people like, you know, all the like modern generations who've had the luxury, like, there was this video game here. Let me see if I can check this. I don't know, there's like millions of people on the planet, right? And they're not living lives of like, pick up a gun and go kill other human beings. Do you know what I mean? Anything that's ushering us to return to old habits, do you know? You know how somebody changes their life and then they say, who are your friends? It's those who in some sense embrace the change, not try to make you revert back to who you were. You know? Similarly, world leaders that start wars, they want us to revert into the past. They're past worshippers. Because no modern leader who truly cares about the future, okay, can allow for nonsense. What nations that have nukes are fighting and the world's watching? What kind of global politics is this? You know, and all the fathers of modern politics, global politics, are all like, yo, is this what we raised? Is this what we passed the torch to? Human beings who in some sense were just quiet and watching on TV as their world got destroyed. I mean, like, we need to advance. Humanity needs to advance. Update the context. Well, there is no excuse because we have AI. AI has given legit, like, astonishing answers. Even protocols to solutions. One solution AI gave, I read it yesterday, it blew my mind. It was like, yo, man, we're going to have this situation where there needs to be a United Species Council, and the United Species Council is in some sense monitoring neutrally. Hopefully, we can establish that, and we have to. The United Species Council monitors, and any nation that attacks another nation, they block it off its access. And any nation that doesn't retaliate, all the other nations give it in regards to infrastructure. Billions in regards to infrastructure. Do you know what I'm saying? Now somebody's going to be like, what about a physical invasion? Like Ukraine and Russia? I'm telling you, those two world leaders could have played a video game and commanded with a mouse cursor, exact video game replications of their military and soldiers to fight, and nobody had to die. Because to the human experience is simulated. To the world leaders, how is people, like, there was this quote, I think, inspired out of Leo Tolstoy's work, where he was saying war is when young people die for old people's decisions. Now the issue is, it's not just old people's decisions. Their decisions are based on an awareness of an older time. Do you know that means, who knows, if all the leaders of the nations were young people, like under 30? Do you know what I mean? I mean, probably not under 30. I'll probably say, I guess under 35 up to above 25. From 25, or let's say 35, I think that's respectable. The younger generations, if they were leaders, do you know what I mean? They'd be like, yo, what are nations doing fighting over land when we have AI ethics problems? We have such bigger problems than nations fighting each other that it's ridiculous that they're fighting each other. You don't understand. By the year AI suggested, you can check it out yourself. By the year 2070, natural disasters will happen. The species has to be united by then. We're reaching an era where AI might get out of hand. The species has to unite and have a global AI ethics council. War has just proven to the citizens of Earth that nations are not really united. Do you know what I mean? And they need to, in some sense, be. And the whole genius of it is that when I said, like, yo, the nations are kids in a classroom and two kids are fighting and the kids in the classroom have to stop those two. When it comes to nations, the way they stop it is in regards to the lack of access. Again, the penalties and reward system. The reason there isn't an intense, heavy global penalty and reward system, you know? And it's because there's so many ideologies. These nations have risen with their own beliefs, but they need to find shared values. And it can only happen with an emergence of a new story that has room for, in some sense, a future identity. Do you know what I mean? That means in 2025, you could say, you know, I'm a Canadian citizen, you know, and I'm Muslim, you know, and I was born in Iran, right? But in the future, if I say that, let's say 200 years in the future, or after Species Unity Day, Unified Species Day, you know what it's gonna, how ridiculous it would be? They would laugh. They're gonna be like, what? What did you just say? Like, children from that era are gonna laugh. They're gonna be like, this guy thinks he's one. They're gonna be like how the natives didn't understand the concept of land ownership when they were colonized. In the same way, the future generations who are going to be born in a united species, they're going to be like, what? You identify with a little part of the earth and you killed for that? What the F? Do you know what I mean? They're going to freak out. They're going to be like, what the F were these guys doing? Do you know? Do you know what it means? It's like legit. Let me tell you what nationalism is kind of like. It's like a bunch of kids, you know, on a snowy day have climbed trees and they're saying, this is my tree. Don't you dare throw snow at it. Do you know? And all the kids are throwing snow from the different trees, acting as if they own nature. Believe it or not, death is proof that nature ends up owning you. By not owning you, as in, like, nature destroys you, trust me, before you destroy nature. Not aside from the fact that there's a divine management and system administration going on, which means every moment has a value beyond our understanding. Mistakes will be made. And they say, what is the difference between a stupid person and a smart person? And if you were to apply this to nation, what is in regards to nations? In other words, a smart person learns from their mistake the first time. And our species has not developed the collective consciousness to be like, all right, war is messed up. Nobody wants to, like, run from the beginning of the day with a chunk of metal in their hand towards somebody else, thinking like they're heroes of a abstract part of the earth. Like, what is that? It's like the same way nationalism is. Imagine human beings fighting over their houses. You know what I mean? It's like, my house is the only true house. All the houses in the other nations can come and rule my house. You know, like, what is that? We've reached a level of sophistication, intelligence, humor, awareness to various angles of meaning. There's too many smart people for stupid mistakes. Like, really, it's time for a context shift. And I've reached that point where I'm like, guys, I could have been born anywhere. I could have identified with any chunk of land, but I know deep down that all of us know that we were born on Earth before it was all named up and bordered up. So find the honor of the human species, care for humanity. You know, something I read for you from AI 2 lectures ago. Was that right now, if war breaks out in this retaliation, I don't know how to tell you, but there needs to be, AI was saying that there needs to be drones from a neutral like organization. Imagine Red Cross, Red Crescent, UN. These drones are going to go and assist people. They're going to have speakers, and in their own languages, they're going to guide them away from the battlefields. Humanity is too important to allow power games to break its legacy. Its legacy is even beyond power. We are one of the most important, just like you have letters of the alphabet, we're one of the letters in existence. Our species. That is the game that's left for us to play. So after you have lived your own life, it is time to live for all of us. It is now to live all of our lives. The ability is there. That when I was telling you how the internet in the subconscious of humanity was advancing humanity without it realizing it. Human beings have such an evolved decency now. It's like, when will human beings let their hearts rule them, not their egos? Whether you're religious or non-religious, it fits the narrative. Religious people, everything is the creation of your creator. Honor the creation. Honor the souls that your creator has created. Whatever body, class, creed they're found in, they're creations of your soul, of their creator. You know, that's for the religious people. For those who are secular, unlike religious people who live for God, or I should say somewhat like them, who live for how they will return to God in the future, the secular is living for the future generations, simply said. If you don't believe in God, you're living for humanity. You're living for the world. That's as far as it goes up with for you. But if you're religious, you're considering that this is a world room, there's another place. This is the lobby or the hallway to the main event. But the whole point of it is you're under divine surveillance. So in some sense, we don't just need advanced bodies, advanced minds. We also need advanced souls. What the soul is the seat of awareness, as described by some. It is technically a secret of the system admin, and also the Amr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which means the command of God, the command of the system admin. Never forget the greatness of your future. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful, may God protect our species from its ignorance. May the Iran-Israel conflict, the Israel-Palestine conflict, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, may these all be resolved. And may God watch over us, for even though as a species we might have been led astray, we still remember the original values of our creation. Mankind is known by his ability to notice greater values. War is denying the greater value of your future. Whoever you are on earth, you must usher everybody towards speciesism. And when the United Species Council is formed, or the UN temporarily changes its name to that, it is very important that now we have graduated from being responsible for nations to being responsible for our species. Thank you for listening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful.